Okay, we're going to look at the subject of moving off from a parking position and then pulling over again. And this typically starts off quite early on when you're learning to drive. And people can get a bit not confused, but that can be misleading for some people. They think, oh, this is what you just do at the beginning, and then once I've done that, I can start driving. Well, this subject of moving off and the way that you do it and then pulling over again is as relevant on the first day that you start to learn to drive as it is on the last day you actually do drive in your life, because you know what it requires is it requires you to be doing it under control, accurately, with due consideration for other road users, safely. So there's lots of boxes, if you like, to tick here, and it's a biggie. This is a big subject. So don't be fooled by this. You know, pay attention to the detail. And my advice is, as this is the first video in this series, actually practice with your friends and family to this level of detail that I'm about to explain. Slowly though, and you'll find that with time things will naturally pick up. You don't have to force the issue. You will become more efficient just naturally. So learn how to do it well, in other words, I suppose. Quality rather than trying to force the issue. Anyway, so there's a system to this, and it's useful to have a system because then that gives us consistency. You can spot a driver that's not driving to a system because sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. Very unpredictable. Now, personally, driving instructors, we tend to use the acronym POM, P-O-M, Preparing, Observations and Move. You can use whatever you like. Another one that I use is FLOW. Feet, setting the feet up, where you look, and then the off. You might not be into acronyms, that might not do it for you. It's got to be meaningful to you, because this is a system that you need to adopt every time that you do it for the rest of your life. Forget about just the test, actually forever. So find something, identify something that's going to be meaningful to you. If it's not meaningful to you, then you probably won't do certain aspects of it, and the consequences of that. 10 years down the line, if you don't do a certain observation, for example, if you don't do a certain observation, 10 years down the line, you might hit that motorcyclist who is just in the process of overtaking. You didn't spot him in that right mirror. He's paralysed for life. That will be with you for the rest of your days. You'll go to court. I didn't see him. I just didn't see him. No, you didn't see him. The reason why you didn't see him is because you didn't do the blind spot check. You just checked. You just used that mirror. So when people turn around, I just didn't see it. Came out of nowhere. Yeah, there's a reason for that. Anyway, so POM. Let's look at POM. Preparing a car. Petrol cars, we do need to set that gas, because if we don't set the gas, we will stall the car when we bring the clutch up. So petrol cars, we do need to set the gas. Can't be bothered with the rev counter. As long as you can just hear a bit of hear the engine revving, then that's fine. The clutch goes all the way down to the bottom, and then we use that palming method that I've got in another video to first gear. We know it's in first gear then. We bring that clutch up about an inch a second for 3 seconds, and then by that time you want to be slowing the rate that you bring it up, because you're going to be very close to the point where it's just beginning to go into first gear. We can tell it's beginning to go into first gear because actually the revs start to dip. The noise of the engine just starts to dip, the rev count just begins to dip, and you are right. The front of the car begins to rise up because the car wants to go forward. Sometimes you can hear the car vibrating or creaking. And that's telling you, all those three things are telling you that you are very close to the point where the car will want to go. The only thing that's stopping it really is that handbrake. So get to that point with your feet and then keep them still. It sounds really simple when I say that, just keep them still. But when you're doing your observations, that's quite a skill, just keeping your feet still. But you've taken the trouble to set the feet, so do try to keep them still, because if you're in the process of doing the observations, if you drop that, you only need to drop that clutch a little bit, don't you? And then suddenly you haven't got that point of that where the gear is coming into play. The consequence of that is you only need to be on a hill, on a red traffic light on a hill. If you haven't got your feet set correctly, then the car, when you take the handbrake off, the car won't go forward, the car rolls back, doesn't it? Very uncomfortable feeling, not nice at all. If your eyes are looking there and the car's rolling back, not a nice combination, that. So, quite critical really. It's not good enough to think you've got that right point, you actually need to know you've got that right point. And so practice it really, don't rush this. This whole thing needs sorting out slowly, in slow time I would say. So you've got your feet sorted out, and we're going on to the observations. O for observations. There's a system to this as well. We're in a parked position over on the left hand side of the road. We're going to be going into the normal driving position, so if you were to look forwards, we're going to go diagonally right. So if we're going to end up going right when we decide to go off, the system that we adopt is we look in the central mirror to see if there's anything behind us, because if there is, that's going to delay things immediately, isn't it? There's nothing there. And then you look over your left shoulder, windows. I'm looking for kids, bikes, anything that moves really. Systematically going from left to right, that mirror. The last place I look at, it's a proper blind spot check. Because I'm looking out that rear window. I'm not looking out this window, I'm looking out the rear window, proper blind spot check. As soon as I come back, the handbrake goes off. And then I keep my feet still. The handbrake goes fully down, by the way. And then I keep my feet still. And then, in my own time, I gently bring that clutch up until the clutch is fully up. And then I can take my feet off, just for purposes of this drill, take my feet off completely, get myself into normal driving position. And then I've done the POM, preparing observations and move. There's very little delay between the observations and the move, because the longer that delay, if you think about it, there could be a cyclist coming up your side. But coming over again, MSM, mirror signal manoeuvre. So mirrors, that central mirror, because I'm about to slow down, so I need to see how close the cars are. That mirror, the left mirror there for the bikes. Anyone coming up my near side? Do I need to signal? Will anyone benefit? It's the same as when the observations, when I was looking around there, would anybody benefit from me popping on the right signal? In this case, there's no one around actually. So there's no need to do that. And I begin to move over. The clutch goes down, which means I'm now no longer am I putting power to the front wheel. So the car isn't being pushed forward any further, because I've disconnected the gears, the engine if you like, from the front wheels, because the clutch is fully down. I feather the brake to a stop. I put my right foot's on the foot brake, my left foot is fully down on the clutch, and then I put the handbrake on. I secure the car, and then I put it into neutral. And I do it in that order, for good reasons. I take my feet off, and that's it. Now, the positional aspect of that, getting into the normal driving position and the parking back into the parking position, can be sorted out with the benefit of some reference points if it's needed. And I can assist with that. So that helps with the accuracy of knowing that you are in the correct position on the road, which is actually quite a big deal if you think about it. We need to know that we are giving the correct signals in our position in the road to other road users. Otherwise, they're confused, don't they? They don't know. They start overtaking, they start bibbing, and they just don't know. So all of those aspects there, you know, if you were to drop any of those components of that system, the consequences can be quite far-reaching. You could start affecting other road users. As I said, the motorbike being a classic example. You're pulling out when really there's somebody in the process of overtaking you. You might start, if you rush this, you might not appreciate how close you are to that curb. So you start mounting the curb. That could be frightening road users. It could be wrecking your car, couldn't it? You might be trying to pull away in third gear rather than first gear. You might be trying to pull away and the handbrake isn't fully off. You might be not putting a signal on when you should do, or you might be putting a signal on when it's not required. So there's lots of aspects to this, really, and we need to tick the boxes of control, being fully in control of the car. Bear in mind what I said about when you're moving off from a hill and from a flat position. If you're on a hill and you're moving off, the amount of gas that needs to be set is higher than if you were on a flat road, because otherwise there is the chance that you will stall the car even more. The clutch position needs to be slightly higher if you're on a hill. You need to feel that car really, when the handbrake goes off, it really will go forwards, because you're on a hill. You don't want to be rolling back into the car behind you. On a flat road, not quite so critical. We still do need the gas actually, so that we don't stall the car. But that clutch position does not need to be telling you, oh, right, it needs to go forward straight away, because we're not on that hill. It won't be rolling back, will it? But you see how all these points. This is all quite. This is a sort of a measure of your willingness for the attention to detail, and forgetting about the test, because examiners certainly will pick up if you do not do certain aspects of this. But forgetting about the test, the point of the matter is that post-test, in years to come, when perhaps you won't be thinking about necessarily these things anymore, the question has got to be, from my point of view, 10 years down the line, are you still going to be doing the appropriate observations before you move off? And so, you know, I think this is a really good thing to learn well.